check in to everyone. Hello everyone, and welcome to Khan Clinics, powered by American Muslim. Today, I'm your host, Dr. Amir Khan, and we're running another episode today. Today's topic, very common abroad, something that we in the US need to be familiar with. We need to know what happens when we're going abroad. So hence we thought we'll bring up a topic that somewhat we're familiar with. That's malaria and stuff. But the main topic other than that is the dengue virus that's been affecting us. But before we start our main presentations and introduce to you Dr. Shanza Ikram, who's going to be talking about dengue virus and stuff, I want to show a little bit with my co-host today. We have Rida and Maya, Jeremy in the studio with us, and see you. Maya wants to show you something that happened last week in Dallas. And we want to show you what devastation a little tornado can bring about. Well, I don't want to say little, but a tornado can bring about. And we want to share those sentiments with the rest of the people and say, well, sorry for the losses, but see what has happened.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very clearly, Maya. Go on, Maya. You got something to share for our team members.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, well, the tornado happened this week on Tuesday in the morning at like 6 a.m. And then, yeah, so it caused a lot of damage. Here is...
This is not a film, Maya, right? This is something that really happened, right, in Dallas, right where we are. And in fact, a lot of people got affected, even our office. So show us some more footage. I just want to share some more stuff so you could show some of our audience members what had happened just specifically in Dallas. We've got people here nationally coming into our program, and then some international. So please share a bit of the more stuff that had happened, please.
Yes, so it caused a lot of damage. As you can see, a few people
yesterday, Dallas, Texas experienced technically a Category 1 hurricane.
House collapsed, trees fell on cars.
By the way, the trees are still all on where I live. They're all on the roads. There's a massive cleaning going on after this. Some of the lights are still not working. So when we're driving right now to work and stuff, the lights are still, some of them have not come back. We were without electricity for 2 days, only 2 days. So the hotels were full because there was no electricity home, no internet. People can live without electricity. In Texas, it becomes very hot. So we touch about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 37 Celsius, your temperature. But it becomes very, very dry. It's not humid, but it's very dry. So it's hot. So no electricity, 2 days, no internet. People are okay without electricity, but they can't live without their internet. That's where they really start crying, and the kids and stuff. So that's another little, just remember, that's another little drama that has happened. Luckily, a lot of loss, a lot of issues, but there wasn't life losses as such. So just wanted to share this, and our sympathies and everything go out. Remember that this, I don't know if Maya, could you show that other first picture that you showed of the tornado that hit? And then it hit part of the city, and then it went off to Raleigh. It went from west to east, so from where we are. And bringing in a lot of rain, a lot of scary stuff, a lot of yards being destroyed, trees being obviously on the roads. Some of the gas stations caught fire and had problems, explosions, small problems with those. School were off for 2-3 days. So just wanted to bring that in the conversations. That's sort of what has happened in the midst of whatever we're doing. Remember last week we discussed a little bit about the war. I think that part was one of the main headline news for us. And obviously, I think you guys will also know how is the trial of our former president, Mr. Donald Trump is ongoing. I think those are the main two things. So our heartiest sort of wishes for speedy recovery for everyone else. I think it brings an interesting topic of conversation. And I think my team going forward are going to bring about some of these highlighted little issues that we encounter in our daily lives. I know week in, week out, we sort of like are so engaged with our work. I couldn't tell I couldn't tell you or my team that we didn't have electricity for 2 days in the building. So it was pretty hard, but at the end of the day, we still had to get together and try to pull a little program for you guys. Same with the work people. We had to come, we didn't have proper stuff, but still life goes on and it continues to function. So that sort of devastation, we just wanted to share that with you. And if you have any videos, anything that you would like to share, you've got AMT's email. Please forward it to Rida, Maya, Dr. Hamza's team, and the social media team, or rest of the team. We have Farhana, Sabah, and Hafsa, and so on so forth. They will be love to have a look at your videos, footages, or anything that you feel like, we would like to share it with all of the Muslims. We're more than welcome to have a look at it, and we'll start sharing it in our program in the beginning or right at the end, so that we can share those sentiments with the rest of the audience. So I just want to put this out there, and so let's start off with the first video in a second. I just want to introduce Dr. Shanza Ikram, who happens to live in Rahim Yarhan, is what I've got, and she's been working as a virtual assistant, billing manager. She's been doing great. She's got a great ethic. Just a story about Shanza is that she was very worried when she started working in the beginning, because she's actually one of the 4 first people who had joined this specific department. And I want to pay a little bit of kudos to her and her husband, who sort of like took the courage, weren't sure about it, but then took the plunge, and she said, okay, well, I want to try to pursue this as a career. So Shanza, welcome to Khan Klinics. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Shanza. So can you hear us, doctor? Welcome, and we're just going to play that video and then get you back on board. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, wonderful. So let's play our first.
Most people infected with dengue do not develop any symptoms. In the 25% of people who do become unwell, symptoms start about 5 to 8 days after being infected, often with a sudden onset of fever up to 40 degrees Celsius, severe headache, pain behind the eyes, muscle and joint pains, and a generalised redness of the skin which looks a bit like sunburn. Some patients feel nauseous, vomit and have tummy pain. The fever continues for about 5 to 6 days, and around day 3 or 4 of the illness, a skin rash can develop, characterised by red, sometimes slightly raised up to 40 degrees Celsius. Symptoms usually set in within a few days of this rash developing, although some patients and a generalised redness of the skin which looks a bit like sunburn. During the recovery phase, some patients may also find that their skin peels, tummy pain, similar to the peeling you can see. The fever continues for about 5 to 6 days. Some people do become severely unwell with dengue. Around day 3 or 4 of the illness, these complications are usually seen in characterised by red onset. In particular, young children and older adults with comorbidities, for example, diabetes or kidney disease. Complications are very rare in travellers. This is because severe dengue does not occur with the first dengue infection, but rather on subsequent reinfections with a different serotype of the dengue virus. Recurrent infections are much more likely to be seen in people living in endemic countries who are constantly exposed to mosquitoes throughout the rainy seasons, rather than in short-term travellers. Patients who go on to develop severe dengue start to show symptoms and signs about day 3 or 4 of their illness. Warning signs include mucosal bleeding, severe tummy pain, persistent vomiting, fluid accumulation and liver enlargement. Severe dengue is characterised by bleeding and multi-organ failure, and in some cases, particularly in children, it can lead to death. However, with good medical supportive care, deaths from severe dengue are usually less than 1%.
Okay, so that's a sort of like an excellent little presentation. I think that sets the tone for our discussion today. I'd love to hear, just note that we have a regular thread that is running, so please put in any of your questions that you do want to ask. We'll keep a note and try to answer them as we go or at the end. Dr. Shanza, you're on now, so tell us a little bit more about dengue fever in your words, and how do we recognize and then how do we treat it?
Okay, so hello, Assalamu alaikum, everyone,
Hello.
and good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So this is Dr. Shanza, and today I'm going to present a topic about dengue fever. So first I will discuss a little about introduction of dengue fever. So am I audible?
Yes, very audible.
Okay. So dengue fever is a painful, debilitating mosquito-borne disease caused by any of 4 closely related dengue virus. Most prevalent vector-borne illness in the world, and main mosquito vector is Aedes aegypti.
Mm-hmm.
So dengue is a disease that is spread by mosquitoes and can make people really sick. So let's learn more about it together.
Wonderful. Please.
Okay, so how we can describe Aedes aegypti? So dengue is transmitted by several species of mosquito within genus Aedes, principally by A. aegypti. So feature is a black and white stripes on its body and legs, and bites during the day. So they are likely to live near people, especially in urban areas, and they are active during the day.
Very interesting. So can I ask a question? So you mentioned that dengue virus, it always has to bite during the daytime and not at night. Is that right?
So mostly
Mostly. Okay.
when we can differentiate it with malaria. So malaria bites mostly during the nights, and so dengue mostly bites during day
Interesting.
in sunlight.
Very interesting. Okay. So, and then you mentioned that how the virus, the mosquito, or looks a little bit different because it has those. You showed that picture where it had those black and white sort of stripes on its legs.
Yes, sir.
Which is a little bit different. Yes, which is a little bit different. Which is its recognizing pattern. Very nice. So, the mosquito is Aedes. Okay. Please, let's continue next.
Okay, so in definition, dengue fever is known as a break-on fever. Is a mosquito-borne tropical disease caused by mosquito bite. The alternative name for dengue break-on fever comes from the associated muscle and joint pains. So it is caused by female Aedes aegypti mosquito bite, which transmits the dengue virus to human.
Okay, very nice.
So if we talk about incidence, so incidence of dengue fever varies in different regions and can be affected by factors like climate, mosquito population, and public health measures. So 50 to 100 million dengue fever infections per year globally, and 5 lakh cases of severe dengue hemorrhagic fever or dengue shock syndrome, 100 to 200 cases annually in US, and every case fatality is 5%.
That's very high. That's very high. If you know, after 5% fatality means that if there are 100 bites, 5 of them are gonna die. 100 bites, that's very high. But even though if you look at the number in the US is not very high at all. It's very low, 100 cases. but worldwide there are millions of people. 500,000 is 5 lakh roughly, and that's very devastating. The numbers look very scary then. Certain countries are protected, and then certain other countries are not. And worldwide, there is a lot of incidents. So this topic then becomes very important for us who's living abroad when they travel to another country. But for people who are living in other countries, developing countries, or where dengue is prevalent more, it's something that we should be definitely aware of. Okay. So very, very nice slide. Thank you for showing that information. It's brilliant. Next, let's see next.
Okay, so distribution. It is important to mention that dengue fever is a significant public health concern in many parts of the world, especially in tropic and subtropical regions. So endemic is more than 100 tropical and subtropical countries. Pandemic began in Southeast Asia after World War II, with subsequent global spread. So several epidemics since 1980s, and distribution is comparable to malaria.
Very good.
So endemic is a disease within a specific population, geographical area, or community. For example, malaria is considered endemic in certain tropical regions where it occurs regularly.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if we talk about pandemic, so pandemic is a global outbreak of disease that spread across multiple countries or continents. For example, COVID-19.
Gotcha. Okay.
And epidemic occurs when there is a sudden increase in number of cases of disease within a specific community. For example, Zika virus in 2015 to 2016.
Very good.
So this is distribution throughout the world, and red dots showing the affected areas.
So a lot in South America, is that right? So South America, Eastern Australia, not West, Eastern Australia, then some in the Philippines, extending right up to Malaysia, Bangladesh, I see India, and then northern part of Pakistan, I think, and then some in the African countries, none whatsoever in South Africa, but some in North Africa, and then to some eastern parts of the country, right? Eastern part of US, or mainly looks like, yeah, some in South America, which is southern part of it. So very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's see the next slide. All right. So tell us a little bit about what is the presentation? How does it present?
Okay, so this is clinical presentation. It includes a spectrum of illness, non-specific febrile illness, classic dengue hemorrhagic fever, dengue shock syndrome, and other CNS dysfunction, liver failure, and myocarditis. And we will discuss one by one.
We're going to discuss them. And I think that's really brilliant. But my first question is, we're comparing malaria and we're comparing a little bit of dengue. I want to try to get an idea how many of the people in the audience, or for example, right now, have had malaria. How many have been? I guess if people say I've been bit by a mosquito, right? I guess almost all of us. I don't know if Maya has, but everyone else, or most of them. Maya, tell me, have you been bitten by malaria? I'm just trying to get an idea. And then I want to know, see you, what about you? Have you been bit by malaria? Oh, sorry, bit by a mosquito?
Yeah, of course.
What about you? So in China, there are mosquitoes,
Yeah.
a lot of mosquitoes. Okay, so that makes me a little bit, I don't want to say happy. I'm happy now that, but I don't want to say it's just one part of the country or it's just in Texas. Because I tell you, in New York, the mosquitoes are relatively very less than Texas. And the reason probably is New York is all concrete, all very built, and so it's less farms. In fact, no farms there. I don't see any farms in New York, right? So, so as a result, the mosquitoes are almost non-existent there. Almost. I want to say they probably still are there, but relatively less. But here, you try to sit outside in an afternoon like yesterday, or I was bit all over. My legs were like gone. 2 minutes, and they were like. So I wanted to. So mosquito, probably. I want to ask what Maya has on this. Maya, what about is Sophia on as well? Has she got a guest cam? Sophia, have you got? So I've got people saying. First of all, I'm gonna assume everyone is bit by a mosquito.
Oh yeah, mosquitoes love me.
Okay, they love you too. They love that's very good. You got. They say that your blood is sweet.
Yeah.
So
I remember you saying
if
that.
there is Dracula out there, he's gonna come for you first.
Oh no.
Because your blood is sweet, then that's a good thing. Sweet blood, it loves the mosquitoes. Recognize very quickly. All right. So, and I don't know if Rida is there. Dr. Jannat is on. All right, good. Jannat, can you hear us? Just that you're in this presentation. Is she on? Okay, Jannat and Rida, I just want you guys to say hello so I know that we can talk. I know we can hear Maya.
Hi, sir. They're snacking on me right now.
Say again?
The mosquitoes, they're snacking on me right now.
Oh, right. So you're their like dinner. Nice dinner. And Shanza warned you that nighttime, the malaria ones, the Anopheles, the other one comes looking for stuff. So you should be careful. Okay. So who has had malaria so far? I've seen a lot of people. Well, actually, a few of them said we've had malaria. Malaria. How many have had mosquitoes? Probably I'm going to say all. But malaria, how many have had malaria? Or the other question would be, which is interesting for me, how many have had malaria and how many have had, or if someone's had dengue? Rida? No malaria, no dengue, right? So far?
So it's a real issue in Pakistan, but not
No? Okay, I think we lost Rida for a second. Maya, no, right? No malaria. Maya's nodding, shaking her head. No, okay.
Yeah, malaria doesn't come up too much, I don't think.
Okay, so no malaria. Okay, good. And then I see mosquitoes are attending the podcast. Well, some say, oh, that's a good one. They're saying they're even listening right now the podcast. Some with Hafsa. That's a good one. They're attending the podcast. I love that. So most of them are saying no. One has said yes. I'm assuming they are saying malaria, but none of the others have dengue or Maha hasn't, and all of them Mona hasn't. Okay. No malaria, no one has had dengue, no one has had malaria. What about see you? No malaria, dengue, no? Good. Okay, so we don't have, except for one person so far, no one else had, right? Jannah, is Jannah on as well? Jannah, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you finally. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. Jannah, how are you? Good. So no
I'm
malaria.
good, sir. How are you?
Good. No malaria, no malaria, no dengue, right?
No malaria, no dengue, but many mosquitoes have bitten me.
Mosquitoes, everyone. So women are very prone to mosquitoes. So someone can suck their blood. It's like they're tasting the blood. All right. Okay. So good. All right then, Shanzat. Well, you know what the distribution is. Not a lot of people have encountered dengue or malaria. But I'm sure you've, okay, who has had a loved one or a close family member? I'm not talking about distant family, but someone in your house who had a full-blown malaria attack in the house. Full-blown malaria or the dengue attack. So that would mean that they seen, oh my God, they had the fevers, they had the chills, they were miserable for a few days. What about, let me ask Maya probably is shaking her. Maya, no, right? No, Maya's never seen it in her life. What about, yeah, see you and Jeremy also shaking their head. What about Rida and Jannah? Has anyone had someone in the family members? Rida,
Yes, sir.
oh yeah? So who did you have?
Yeah, a lot of. So a lot of people just in my life, acquaintances mainly, but yeah, because dengue and malaria, they are really big issues in Pakistan.
So, but I wanna try to see how many of in the audience have personally encountered or had to look after a patient with dengue or malaria. How many of you had? So I know so far one doctor had said yes, um, and Fatima's said yes. Friends is not gonna count. Someone you had to look after. Do that. Oh, now that is a big one. When someone says my family member had to go to the ICU, because that means it's a very scary ordeal. That becomes, doesn't have to be you, but it's very someone very close to you, and it becomes very scary. And then, yeah, someone else, a couple of people have said yes to that, but none of them had. Most of the devastation seems like dengue seems to be very scary than malaria. Nowadays we got control over malaria. Even if you get malaria, it gets treated very quickly, so you don't end up most of the time dying from malaria. But dengue is a little bit different, and everyone, is it a fair statement to say when it spreads, it's very scary? Is it scary? When it spreads, it's scary. It's like if you know people around you are starting getting dengue, that means it can come and bite you as well. You could have dengue because someone else is a carrier. Does it become more scary then? No? Yeah, the symptoms are bad. That's what I'm saying here. But is there, yeah, some are saying then it becomes scary. It's just like, I'll tell you, the worst experience in my life was when COVID was spreading and you didn't even want to go near any of your friends. Okay? It's all right doing a teleconference and speaking to them on tele. And one experience I want to share with you guys, which I won't forget for the rest of my life. I was in the ICU and mom had COVID-19 and she passed away. She died, okay, sadly. This is right at the peak. And we called them family members, and the daughter picked up, the daughter. And we said, hey, by the way, this has happened. The daughter also had kids, and with your mother is here. And I'm not blaming it because it was so much devastation, so much scariness at that time, the peak of phobia from COVID. Because I want to recall, because you don't want to forget those times. And you know what the daughter did? We said, hey, the body is here. What do you want to do? And she said, just cover it and bury it. We don't want to pick it. They didn't want to bury the mother. That was when COVID was at the peak. And I would never forget that. Because after that, we saw a trend. We had, our morgue was full. Hospital morgue was full, right? So we had to get a mobile, it's called a mobile truck. And the truck got full of bodies at the peak. And we were telling them the truck is full. Why can't you? There was no place to bury them because no one wanted to bury those bodies because they were so afraid of touching the virus. So don't forget those times. Those are like devastations at their peak, and something that you gotta, if I had something to write about, I would say my worst experience, because a lot of rumors start spreading, right? And I remember when I had to go to work, the roads were empty. So I was driving, before I drove off, I came out and my daughter came to the door and she started crying. She didn't want me to go to work. Basically, that's what it is. So she was like, so that's why you got to remember, admire your healthcare workers. Don't forget them. They're really we use a word here. It's very appealing. It's like a very, it's called a fallen hero. It's sad to me to say this, that when this happened in US and especially in England, a lot of people, the healthcare workers lost their lives. And a big chunk of the healthcare workers who lost their lives were actually foreign doctors as well, because they ended up working more. I'm not saying all of them were working, but there was some statistics out there that they ended up, I don't know for what reason, died more, but maybe the workforce is more there. So in UK that happened. A lot of doctors I knew and people I actually saw in the BMJ and the other places, they passed away. So we don't want to forget about those times. It was very, very, very interesting. All right, dengue virus, and so you guys, whoever encounters, is very legitimate to be scared. But that's why we want to discuss this, because you want to be able to recognize, right? You want to be able to recognize, and it's like COVID-19. But remember, COVID-19 was exactly that at its peak. People would not, even mother, daughter, father, son, brother, sisters, they'd be not ready to accept each other. It's like a little, there's a word, other word that you say, like Qiyamah. So you can believe in that because that's happened. All right. Right, Jannah? Do you get the point? Jannah, Rida? I don't know, Maya? Yeah? Maya
Yes,
agrees.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, whenever you said the bodies, they didn't want to touch it, they just have like it reminded me of like sometimes whenever you watch something that's kind of based whenever in the 80s, whenever the AIDS epidemic was happening, the same thing, they would just have like mass graves where no one wanted to claim those bodies. That's just what it reminded me of.
Yeah. A lot of people have different rituals. And right at the peak, I remember there was one burial service, a imam in New York that said, I'm not scared. And he was on his own, got a tractor, and he rolled right through a field or something like that. He was showing this. And himself was putting the bodies in. And he had to put a row of people because no one wanted to touch those bodies. And he was at that time brave enough to do that. And I put that word out. It's just something to remember. Exactly. There's like Dr. Noor saying, it's Judgment Day. Please remember, those are your heroes, really, honestly. And they've lost their life. They're fallen heroes. So we don't want to forget them. I know COVID is gone and everything. And I'll tell you, I'm still traumatized from COVID-19. Since then, it's been now a year and 2 years coming. I've lost interest. It sort of like got a very traumatic experience. Let's put it that way. ICU experience. So, all right.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of traumatized.
Pardon? Yeah, no, you're right. We're
Just
all
a little bit, in
traumatized
some
from
kind
it,
of way.
but we forget very quickly, right? And sometimes we don't appreciate what's going on. War is another trauma. A lot of us, none of us has experienced it. We cannot even imagine what people are going through. Whether it's war in Ukraine, whether it's war anywhere in the world, war is not good under any circumstance. So we cannot imagine what happens at that time. We don't want to forget our heroes. All right, sidetrack conversation. So, Dr. Shanza, tell us next now. Clinical presentation. Give us some of the types, please.
Okay, sir, I want to share. Once I read mosquitoes are attracted to women more than to men because of estrogen. Estrogen is a strong attractant.
Okay. That's a nice one.
Right.
Oh, no wonder. They're like, okay. They like the estrogen. Nice one. Okay,
Yes, sir.
interesting. Okay, very good.
Okay, so classic dengue typically present with symptoms such as acute febrile illness with headache, retroorbital pain, myalgias, break-on fever, high fever 5 to 7 days, and second fever for 1 to 2 days in 5% of patients, followed by a marked fatigue days to weeks, and classic dengue 15 to 60% of infections, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea in 30%, and macular or macropapillary confluent rash 50%, and respiratory symptoms cough, sore throat 30%.
Okay, well, let me ask you another little question. Can someone tell me? I want to try to ask you, and then I'll ask obviously you guys. What is marked fatigue? Give us the audience an idea about fatigue and malaise. Give us an idea about that. What is fatigue or malaise? Let me start with Maya. Come on, Maya. How she's saying there's a lot of fatigue and malaise. How much fatigue, malaise do you think there is? Tiredness. What do you think?
How much?
Pardon?
You're asking how much, like how tired you get if you're infected. I'm gonna say probably pretty bad, right? Since you're getting the hint that dengue is scary.
It is scary. So if you're fatigued or malaise, what are you not able to do? What are you able to do or not able to do? You know, I'm saying, oh, I'm fatigued. Well, I was fatigued today, but I still came to work. I still here. I was fatigued on my morning meetings and stuff. And Jeremy saw me and he became suddenly fatigued. Oh my God. Jeremy says that every single time he sees that. Oh no, Dr. Khan is here. He's fatigued. Friday's all right. So Friday fatigue. I get that. He's got a Friday fatigue. Reda, Jannah, what do you think of the degree of the fatigue and the malaise?
Sir, I think malaise is that is more of a mental fatigue kind of thing, and the other is more related to the physical fatigue.
And how much do you think they have fatigue or malaise?
I think these patients have quite a lot of it because there is, a viral infection going on in the body. So when you have an active infection, so I do think that that's quite extreme.
It is. When you have infection, all right, what happens is that you're not able to function like you do at a normal level, right? You want to be sitting in your bed. You're not even bothered to get up and cook or go to the bathroom at times. You're so tired. And when fatigue or malaise get to a stage where you can't swallow or you can't lift, in the ICU when we extubate patients sometimes and they've been on steroids. Steroids normally are stimulants, but if there is something entity, if you give steroids for a few weeks at a little higher dose, they can't lift their arms, they can't lift their legs, they can't get up out of bed. So that's a lot of fatigue and that's called marked fatigue and tiredness. All right. So just keep that in mind. They're very crippled in a way. There's a lot of lack of energy for them. And
so in other way we can say malaise is feeling of discomfort because of disease, any disease.
Yes, absolutely. Very good. So just imagine you want to eat but you can't eat. You want to walk, but you can't walk. You want to run, you can't run. Walking is difficult. Doing anything is different. Even staying awake, you could just barely open your eyes and just function around. So that's marked. So just note that. Very good slide. Very good presentation. Let's do next. Excellent.
Okay, so here symptoms: eye pain, muscle pain, bone pain, joint pains, fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, and rash.
Yeah, the pain that comes with the fatigue and the muscle pain that cripples you as well. Okay, very good. Next. Oh, yeah.
Okay, when comparing dengue and malaria, there are some key differences to consider. Dengue fever, as we already discussed, a painful, debilitating mosquito-borne disease caused by any of four closely related dengue virus, and this is viral infection. And malaria is serious and sometimes fatal disease caused by parasite that commonly infect certain type of mosquito which feeds on human and is caused by parasite. So transmission is by bite of Aedes mosquito, and in malaria transmission is the bite of Anopheles mosquito. So Aedes mosquito is lyrical shape marking, banded legs, dark color and narrow body, and Anopheles is a dark brown and black in color.
Interesting.
Here we can see.
Yeah, very good. You showed
So
the
incubation
stripes, and that
period.
was very interesting. You know how you showed the stripes of the legs and stuff? That's a little eye opener. Okay,
So
go on.
in dengue incubation period is 4 to 10 days, and in malaria incubation period is 7 to 30 days.
7 to 30. So that means it's the time when it multiplies in the body. Okay, incubation, it's um, getting ready to overtake the host. You got that much time to cure. After this, you're going to have an attack. Okay, very good.
Okay, so in dengue fever, symptoms include rashes, swollen glands, nausea, vomiting, and pains in joint and muscles, and pain behind the eyes.
Very good.
In malaria, symptoms include chills or feeling shivery, nausea, vomiting, headache, muscle and joint pains, and rapid breathing and heart rate, diarrhea, fatigue, and temperature of 38 or up to 41 degrees Celsius.
Very good.
So this is phases of dengue fever. It includes three phases: febrile phase, critical phase, and recovery phase. Febrile phase for 7 days, critical phase for 2 days, and recovery phase for 2 to 3 days. So features of febrile phase: sudden onset of fever, headache, mouth and nose bleeding, muscle and joint pains, vomiting, rash, and diarrhea. In critical phase, we can see hypotension, pleural effusion, ascites, gastrointestinal bleeding, and in recovery phase, altered level of consciousness, seizures, itching, and slow heart rate.
Gotcha. Very good.
So,
Okay.
dengue hemorrhagic fever is a severe form of dengue fever. It is characterized by bleeding, a drop in platelet count, and plasma leakage, which can lead to shock and even death if not treated. So, four WHO criteria for dengue hemorrhagic fever: fever, hemorrhagic manifestations, low platelet count, and elevated hematocrit.
Very good. Which essentially means that you hemorrhagic phase means when there is a blood primarily phase, a loss of blood, and the platelet count. Platelets are very important for healing. Platelets are like a plug. So when you don't have, if you bleed, you bleed very easily. Okay, so very good. Next, let's see next. Hemorrhage, more on the shock. Very good. So shock
Okay,
is
so
when you can end up in the ICU. We heard someone saying their loved one was in the ICU. Shock a lot of time has to be treated in the ICU. All right.
okay, so dengue shock syndrome, all above criteria of dengue hemorrhagic fever plus sign of circulatory failure manifested by following features: rapid and weak pulse, narrow pulse pressure, hypotension, and cold and clammy skin, restlessness or decrease or absent urine. So this condition can lead to shock, which is a life-threatening emergency.
Very good. Okay.
So dengue with warning sign: abdominal pain or tenderness, persistent vomiting, clinical fluid accumulation, ascites and pleural effusions, mucosal bleeding, lethargy, restlessness, and hepatomegaly, severe plasma leakage leading to shock, severe bleeding, and severe organ involvement, AST and ALT, greater than or equal to 1000, impaired consciousness, and organ failure.
Okay. Very good.
So to diagnose dengue fever, healthcare provider typically rely on a combination of clinical evaluation and laboratory tests. So in clinical, positive tourniquet test and enlargement of liver, and in laboratory findings, leukopenia, low WBC count, thrombocytopenia, low platelet count, and hemoconcentration, hematocrit increased by 20% or more, elevated ALT and AST, serology or detection of dengue viral material in blood by PCR, and dengue-specific IgG and IgM raising antibody titers by ELISA.
Very good. Okay.
So next is management. The management of dengue involves supportive care to alleviate symptoms and prevent complication. So here are some key aspects of managing dengue fever. Supportive measures include rest, bleeding prevention and control, adequate hydration, fluid and water replacement, symptoms relief and fever control by body sponging is required to keep body temperature below 40.
Very good.
So acetaminophen if no liver dysfunction, and avoid aspirin and NSAID.
Very good. So before you do the shock thing, Jeremy has another video he wants to quickly play. Let's have that in as well. Okay.
Dengue is a flu-like illness spread by the bite of an Aedes mosquito infected with the dengue virus. The Aedes mosquito can breed even in a small amount of water, accumulated in any container-like object. Drain out and scrub clean garden fountains, bird baths, and flower pot base plates at least once a week. Turn over or cover objects that can collect water, such as wheelbarrows, drums, or bowls. Cover overhead water tanks with a tight lid to prevent mosquitoes from entering. Cover the overflow pipes of water tanks with a material that allows water to flow out, but prevents mosquitoes from entering. Clean roof gutters by ensuring the outlet remains open and water does not stagnate. Ensure bottles, plastic containers, or any other discarded material in which water can collect are properly disposed of or recycled. At least once a week, drain out and scrub clean trays under refrigerators, air conditioners, water cooler tanks, indoor flower pots, and vases. While spraying insecticides to kill mosquitoes, focus on dark areas such as closets, underneath beds, and behind curtains. Leave the doors and windows of your house open when local authorities are carrying out fogging.
Okay, well, okay, wonderful. So that was very good as well. What are the measures that one needs to take when you're going in and trying to protect from dengue? So tell us a little bit more, Dr. Shanza, on that. I know you've got the presentation on the shock, which we need to treat in the ICU, blood transfusion if it's needed, and others. But walk us through the next bit, please.
Okay, so next is prevention. So travelers should be advised to sleep under nets and use tropical repellents. Adult mosquitoes should be destroyed by sprays and breeding sites should be eradicated, and keep flower pots dry. Cover body and arms, especially at sunrise and sunset. Apply mosquito repellent lotion on uncovered body parts, and wash water containers daily and keep them properly covered. Public education, and as far no effect vaccine has been made.
So travelers' advice to sleep, use of net is very, very important. It's just absolutely like when we have malaria, right? Nets prevent. And the others is that the breeding site generally for a mosquito is, where does it breed the best? What does it like? The breeding site. Breeding site. Where does it breed? Guys, what do you think, Rida and Maya? I'm gonna ask this question to everyone. What
They,
is
oh, I know mosquitoes like standing water.
absolutely brilliant? So water, any place where there is stagnant water. Absolutely, yeah. We a lot of people got the stagnant means still water. Running water doesn't affect. If the water is like in a river or a flood, or that doesn't. But especially if there is stagnant water, meaning still water, it is becomes very, very. Do creams help? If you apply repellent creams and take some, if you're traveling, you need to take some prophylactic medications. But do creams help? Do they help? Still water, yes, absolutely. A lot of people saying still water is totally makes sense. But what about um, creams also
Humid temperatures?
Say again?
Humid temperatures, those weathers, they cause a lot of mosquitoes to be flying around.
Yeah, in cold weather, they don't like cold weather, but hot, humid weather sort of like propels them a little bit more. Hard to control it, but it's also a little bit of, and applying topical creams on your skin can also help. In fact, it's very interesting. I don't know if any of you have has any of you heard T3? Has any of you heard, it's like a topical lotion. Topical lotion is there's a few of the people would say it's available over the counter and helps a lot. But okay, that's very, and vaccination, there's no effective vaccination. It's more about public education. Very good. Alrighty, Dr. Shanza, do you have anything else for us?
Yes, sir. Treatment of shock.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So when someone with dengue fever goes into shock, it's crucial to provide immediate medical care. So monitor blood pressure, hematocrit, platelet count, and level of consciousness. In case of shock, replacement of volume is required. There may be also electrolyte and acid-base imbalance. Immediate replacement of plasma volume with 5% dextrose in normal solution is given. And blood transfusion is recommended in case of resistant shock.
Mm-hmm.
So additionally, supportive care such as oxygen therapy and close monitoring in ICU may be required for patients in shock due to dengue fever.
Wonderful. Okay. What else?
Okay, so this is a pictorial presentation, prevention and treatment for dengue. Describe mosquito breeding places, sleep under mosquito net, wear protective clothing, take some fever medication, rest as much as possible, drink plenty of fluids, and doctor consultation.
Very nice. Okay. Drinking water because it prevents dehydration. Rest because you're going to be fatigued. You need to do that. Medication is key. Recognizing dengue is the most important thing. And then repellents, obviously, you need to put on where water is stagnant and stuff. So very good. And protective wear, try to see if you don't get bit, which is sometimes hard to do. But nets is the most other important thing. Nets. All right. So they're a very important thing. All righty. Wonderful stuff. Okay. Absolutely, it is. Very good message. Very, very good. Okay. Dr. Shanza, thank you. Thank you very much. That was a very nice, brilliant presentation. I appreciate it. And thank you for putting all of that hard work into it. You made it very organized. And I think, you know, a lot of the team, a lot of the people who are watching this, who are going to have a look at it, will definitely benefit and go home with some sort of knowledge and stuff. So I think that will, the presentation is going to definitely help. All right, Rida.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And it's our pleasure to have you. What about Rida? Do you have any other messages? Rida, Jannah, guys? Rida, just in general, do we have any other message?
No, sir, I think it was quite informative.
Okay, very good. before this, before we close, I just want to emphasize, just make sure you like it, the presentations that they have done. Again, your family, friends, sort of members are also encouraged, but it's mandatory for all of you to attend, and there's no exceptions. So just not let that get to HR, so they come to me and say, well, they didn't, this person didn't attend. So we don't want that. We want all of you to support your team so they can keep on rolling some good stuff out. I have, before we go, one other question. And before we sign off, I was asking the audience, not the audience, the people who were there, Maya and stuff, and Maya answered it obviously very quickly because she knows what's going on in the Western side of things. So the question is, what does your youth want to become nowadays when they're growing up? What does the youth want to become when they are growing up? So I want to give you 3 or 4 options. Number 1 is that they want to become a doctor. They want to become an engineer. They want to become a businessman. And or something. It's more like being an entrepreneur. Okay, being an entrepreneur or other. So I've asked this question specifically because I was listening to a YouTube, and on the YouTube they were discussing about the youth, and the YouTube was specifically about athletes and how they are, the newer generation are not actively engaged in being athletes right now. Instead, their interests are something different. So, what do you think? Engineer? Engineer is engineer. A lot of people saying, well, I have few saying businessmen, 2 saying businessmen. And the 4 choices were doctor, engineer, businessman, and other. So, I want to know, what do you think, Jeremy? Businessman as well. Okay. What about you, Rida?
So I think people want to be their own boss, so they want to start their own business.
Right. Okay. What else? Well, I'm not going to ask Maya. Maya already picked that. Jannah, what do you think? Is she off? Okay, Jannah, what do you think?
Yes, sir. I think businessman.
Yeah, just do business, right? I'll tell you,
Yes, sir.
there are some of the options that the team has put in, and I can tell that one of them has got it right already. Guess which one? And this is very true. These are teens. Yeah. Let me answer the question. They want to become now influencers, and they want to be YouTubers. They want to be YouTubers, guys. And Maya picked this up in a second. She was in the studio started. Oh, that's easy. They want to be. They don't want to be. They don't want to be doctors. They don't want to be. To the fact that if they are offered, the conversation was about, if I give you $1 million, and you have a choice, either become a football athlete or become a YouTuber. And guess what the vast majority of them picked up? YouTuber. Yes. And since then, I've been putting my head down and trying to think, what on earth is going on? Here, I don't even know, half of my team knows how to operate YouTuber, because half of them are not on YouTube right now. I can at least say 30 people are there, 30 are absent from YouTube, probably can't connect because they keep on connecting to Pulmonix and they're stuck. So they don't even know how to create an account. And yet the new generation don't want to watch TV. Yes, I know Sophia or Safia, one of them said as well, influencer, and Abdullah, I saw that someone else picked up, they want to be YouTubers. So just think about that. I want to leave with that little note. Probably we need to have a little bit more discussion on this, and especially because we don't have any kids on this right now. Well, hang on a second. It's on YouTube, so maybe there are a few YouTubers watching, but oh boy, they don't want to probably listen to all of this stuff. So Dr. Khan is going to force them to listen. All right. But I'll leave you guys on that note. Pray for everyone. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll catch up next week. And thank you for all of the works. And there is, the one little other present remark that we want to add for next week. We have Akif is going to be presenting on antibiotics. Just antibiotics, but mainly going to be focusing on antibiotic resistance. Why is that important? We're going to be talking about how we can prevent antibiotic resistance. So Akif is going to have his presentation next week, Friday. Okay, so it's a very interesting topic. And then I see only Jeremy is pointing out we have only 1 like so far. So he's putting the thumb up for please do click that. That's always very relevant. So with 30-40 people, you should all do that. All right, guys, you need to put the likes in and share it. Okay, that's very important. Now we've got 37 people coming in right at the last minute. But anyways, it's good. You're trying to attend. I know it's hard to listen to stuff like this on Fridays, but it's all very relevant. These topics are very relevant to what you guys are doing. You all need to know a little bit about it and become more knowledgeable. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week. 3 o'clock, same time. Okay, guys, thank you.